Welcome back to the Ross Bolin Podcast, presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin, joined today by producer Kade Orris. Kade, say hello to the people.
Hello, people.
Let me start today's show by saying I just ordered us lunch. Just an FYI.
Oh, what'd you get?
Jersey Mike's.
Okay, yeah, you know what I like there, so
Yeah,
we're all good.
I meant to do it before we started the show because we've got oysters, clams, and cockles right after this, and I want to make sure I get to eat. So I just went ahead and...
You just went for it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I get the same thing every time, so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, also, this week, in our Patreon exclusive episode, we will be continuing a saga that, unless you are on Patreon, you aren't even aware of. And it's the saga of Kade being a male stripper at bachelorette parties as a side gig in Austin. Last summer, Kade was at the gym. I'll give you just the gist of it here, okay? Just kind of the background story. Kade was at the gym, and it was what gym?
I go to LA
Fitness. And he was approached by a dude that he saw regularly at the gym, right? You know how you become like kind of gym
buddies?
Yeah, with people that are always going at the same time as you, gym acquaintances or whatever. And this dude approached Kade and asked him if he wanted to be the entertainment at a bachelorette party, and we did a Patreon episode covering this. And it was in, what, you said August of 2022?
Yeah.
Well, it happened again, and this past weekend, Kade was once again man meat for the women at a bachelorette party to ogle. But you'll only hear the full story if you're supporting our show by pledging just $5 a month on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast.
Yeah, my parents started listening to the show since I've been on. They're not on Patreon, though, so this is probably news to them, for sure. That you just kind of dropped a huge bomb on them, I imagine. But, they can hear the full story on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast.
Mr. and Mrs. Orris, it's time to cough up that $5 a month. I mean, really, you guys should each get your own account, so $10 a month.
Yeah.
If you really want to support your son and the business he works for. Also, surprise!
So I imagine
I've got him down here stripping on the side.
I imagine I'll get a caller text later this week about it.
I'm sorry for outing you, but
no, it's cool.
It had to be done to promote the pod.
No, absolutely. No, you had to do it. I understand.
And now it's time for insane headlines of the day. Here's your first one. Maryland license plates now inadvertently advertising Filipino online casino. From Vice, roughly 800,000 Maryland drivers with license plates designed to commemorate the War of 1812 are now inadvertently advertising a website for an online casino based in the Philippines. It says in 2012, to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812, which is important, obviously, Maryland redesigned its standard license plate to read, Maryland, War of 1812. The license plates, which were the default between 2012 and 2016, have the URL www.starspangled200.org printed at the bottom. Well, sometime within the last year, www.starspangled200.org stopped telling people about how Marylander Francis Scott Key was inspired to write the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, after watching British ships bombard Fort McHenry in Baltimore during the War of 1812, and started instead redirecting to a site called globeinternational.info, in which a blinking bikini-clad woman advertises Philippines' best betting site, deposit 100, receive 250.
Well, at least they're getting their deposit bonus when they sign up.
I know, that's
huge.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want out of your Filipino casino that's being advertised on your Maryland license plate. The issue was spotted by a Redditor who said, quote, I was never a fan of having a plate celebrating the War of 1812, but I'm even more upset now that I and tons of other Marylanders are driving advertisements for international online gambling. A spokesperson for the Maryland Department of Transportation's Motor Vehicle Administration told Motherboard that there, quote, are currently 798,000 active War of 1812 license plates. This is a genius move by the company in the Philippines.
Right, yeah. So
So it redirects. It's not like you go to the starspangled200.com and you're just on a gambling site suddenly.
Yeah.
But I think they must have noticed, like...
Did they, like, buy
domain?
it from them? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not from them, but I'm assuming... Well, let's continue and see what happened here. It says, a spokesperson... Here's a quote. The website printed on the plates is not owned by the Motor Vehicle Administration. The plate's design and content originated from the War of 1812 Bicentennial Commission created in 2007. Star Spangled 200 Incorporated is the nonprofit entity affiliated with the commission that led the efforts to raise funds for bicentennial projects and events. This is a statement from the Maryland Department of Transportation's Motor Vehicle Administration. It continues, the MVA does not endorse the views or content on the current website using that URL and is working with the agency's IT department to identify options to resolve the current issue. I don't think the IT department is going to be able to solve this one, Kade.
I'm pretty sure you just have to change the license plate.
Yeah, but they can't. That's the problem. It's 800,000 people who got these plates during the run of 2012 to 2016. So unless they go get new plates altogether, the website's going to be on there. I mean, you could Sharpie it out, I suppose, or something. But what's IT going to come up with? It sounds like they stopped making payments on their domain ownership. This Filipino gambling company swooped in, grabbed it, and redirected it to their site, which somebody was smart enough to realize, holy shit, there are 800,000 people driving around Maryland with this URL on their plates that doesn't go to anything anymore.
And someone in Maryland was dumb enough to not check that.
You got to re-up.
Pay those fees for the domain, you know?
We spend like a couple $100 a year at Bolin Media on all the different domains that we've registered over the years, of which there are like a dozen. Almost all of them are completely unused. But BolinMedia.com is one of them, and that one we obviously do use. And if we were to let it run out and then a Filipino gambling company scooped it up, I wouldn't holler at the IT department that doesn't exist and ask them to fix it, because I think the only course of action here is for them to mail a black piece of tape to 800,000 people and ask them to apply it to their license plate where the URL is.
Just go to every car and just like, hey, you need to put this at the bottom of your plate.
Because otherwise, this problem is not fixable. You lost the battle when you ignored that email.
But they did win the war
True.
of 1812.
Of 1812, which is the most important thing here, I think, to remember. Yeah. Next headline. Nun whose body shows little decay since 2019 death draws hundreds to rural Missouri. From K-View, hundreds of people flocked to a small town in Missouri this week and last to see a black nun whose body has barely decomposed since 2019. Some say it's a sign of holiness in Catholicism, while others say the lack of decomposition may not be as rare as people think. It's a broad spectrum of beliefs there. Either it doesn't matter at all and it's common, or she is holy and should be sainted. Knighted? A saint? How do you saint?
I think you're sainted.
Sainted.
I don't think saints get knighted. I think knights get knighted.
That's true. That's good point. Sister Wilhelmina Lancaster was exhumed in April, according to a statement from the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of Apostles in Gower, Missouri. The nuns had been preparing for the addition of a St. Joseph shrine, and that involved, quote, the reinterment of the remains of our beloved foundress, Sister Wilhelmina, the statement said. When they exhumed her, they were told to expect only bones, since she had been buried in a simple wooden coffin without any embalming 4 years ago. Instead, they discovered an intact body and, quote, a perfectly preserved religious habit, end quote, the statement said. The nuns hadn't meant to publicize this discovery, but someone posted a private email publicly and, quote, the news began to spread like wildfire. So like one of the other nuns who's still with us couldn't keep a secret, got too excited.
Spilled the beans, that's tough. So did they like dig her body up? Like how did they find her?
Yeah,
like that?
What it sounds like to me is they were preparing to install this St. Joseph shrine, and that they were going to need to move a bunch of dead people to do that, and that when they went to move her, like somebody opened up the box and was like, holy shit,
It kind of looks like I'm looking at pictures right now, like almost like a wax figure or something, or like she's made of like plastic or
They
silicone.
got pictures of her up there?
Yeah, on
Oh
the
my
internet. Yeah,
God.
of course.
Just wildly disrespectful. And it gets worse. Volunteers and local law enforcement have helped to manage the crowds in the town of roughly 1,800 people, as people have visited from all over the country to see and touch Lancaster's body. From one guy, Samuel Dawson, who is Catholic and visited from Kansas City with his son last week, he says, quote, "It was pretty amazing." It was very peaceful, just very reverent. It's the opposite of reverence, sir. You've dug up a dead person, and people are coming in from out of state and touching her.
A holy person.
Dawson said there were a few hundred people when he visited and that he saw many out-of-state cars. I'm just like, this reminds me of that South Park episode where the statue starts bleeding and
Of her.
yeah. And I believe Randy thinks he's dying of alcoholism.
Yeah, and like
So it makes fun of Catholics and alcoholics in the same episode. Genius stuff from South Park. But he goes to see the statue to be healed, right? But imagine being at your day job or whatever, just wherever. Let's say in like Ohio, and you hear they dug up this dead nun, and her body had not decomposed, and being like, "My God, Timmy, get your shit. We have to go now." Now, like quitting your job and just like driving out there to see a corpse. Just strange.
There has to be better stuff to do with your weekend.
I would think so. It says visitors were allowed to touch her, Dawson said, adding that the nuns, quote, "wanted to make her accessible to the public because in real life, she was always accessible to people." Yeah. Hey, just for the record, I've been fairly accessible to people over the course of my life. None of you have permission to dig me up and allow people to touch my dead corpse.
Well, what if you haven't like decomposed and like you're still
Don't care.
Okay.
This is why you get cremated, right here. You avoid all these shenanigans. Somebody's going to install a shrine. Next thing you know, your corpse is being displayed for the public and people are driving in from Ohio and Kansas City to touch you.
But then you also might get like confused for like some chocolate milk powder.
That's
when
true.
You're cremated. So
That's
the one risk you have to run into.
I'm happier being drank by accident by my loved ones than I am.
Well, no, I was going to drink you on
touched
purpose.
by strangers, even on purpose, as long as it's a loved one.
Not some stranger.
No strangers. That's just, I don't know. Stranger danger, man. I'm not down with this. It says the monastery said in a statement that Lancaster's body will be placed in a glass shrine in their church on Monday. Visitors will still be able to see her body and take dirt from her grave, but they won't be able to touch her. This is the most incredible tourist attraction. A town of 1,800 people, you wouldn't even expect that they had the savvy to pull something like this off. But this has got to be the best thing that's happened to them in decades. They were like, holy shit, we've got a nun that refuses to decompose. We got to get our money's worth here.
Right, yeah, no, and then they're giving them a souvenir too, the dirt from her grave.
Come on.
Oh, my Lord.
This is just, yes, literally.
Literally.
Yes. This is insane, though. This is not, we've fallen so far from the light of the Lord. You know, we've strayed from God's light this far. This is where we're at. We're pulling dead nuns out of the ground, sticking. I can't believe they were like, all right, you know what? It's been a little inappropriate that we've had all these people driving in and touching her. Let's pull her out of the box. Let's create a glass fucking museum exhibit and stick her in there. What is she going to be, sitting in a chair? What, are they going to prop her up like a fucking scarecrow? What is this?
Yeah, I'm looking at more pictures right now. I'm like, I'm just so like, there's like so many people touching her at once. Like it's so like that's like I'm never touching.
And what do they think is going to? It's like she must have been so holy that some of it will rub off on your ass if you touch her corpse.
You won't decompose as fast when you die. That's what they're hoping for.
Now God is going to see you and answer your prayers.
Yeah,
I just don't. I don't understand. It's just not me. And you know, typically I like to stay out of the realm of shame and judgment, but this is just ridiculous. Pull yourselves together, people. There's got to be something else to believe in other than a nun who refuses to decompose like she might rub off on you or you might rub off on her. Hopefully nobody's done that.
Rub off on her?
It sounds like they're letting anybody do anything. You know? Can't be too careful. Next headline. Denver Nuggets Rocky revealed as highest paid NBA mascot with $625,000 annual salary. So last week we talked about how being a professional sports mascot is a job for either furries or the legally insane. And now the very mascot we referenced in that segment, it turns out, makes more than the entirety of Bolin Media in a year at over $600,000. So maybe we picked the wrong line of work, Kade?
We definitely did. And I liked how we said that, like, oh, these mascots probably don't make shit. Like, we were talking about, like, how the dancers and cheerleaders probably make nothing. The mascots make even less. Very wrong on that end.
Fucking over $500,000? Bro, sign me up. I did not know. I feel like either of us could have been a great mascot. We're fairly large in size. Yeah. You know, that's one of the things you want to be big. You want to be able to be seen easily. We're fairly animated people. I can wave my arms around, and I can't do a backflip or anything. But
no, I have to learn how to do that. But jump off a trampoline, dance a little bit with the dancers. Like, it seems like a pretty easy gig. Just mess around with the fans, throw popcorn on them occasionally.
You just get stoned out of your gourd and then fucking show up and act like a doofus. That's already what I do.
Exactly.
You know? I feel ridiculous for having hated on Rocky, and it turns out he's crushing it. Sports Illustrated, who blocked me on Twitter, said, being an NBA mascot can be a pretty lucrative gig. A report from Sports Business Journal revealed just how much money those in the mascot industry make, and it's a rather large amount. The highest earner among the NBA's 30 mascots is that of the Nuggets. Their mountain lion mascot, Rocky, reportedly collects a cool $625,000 annually. The list's next highest earner is the Hawks mascot, Harry the Hawk. The bright red hawk gets paid a handsome $600K each year, just ahead of the third highest earner, Chicago's Benny the Bull, who collects $400,000 annually. I wonder how they negotiate this, because once the cat is out of the bag and the other where's Clutch the Bear, the Rockets mascot? What does he make? Yeah. And if he doesn't make at least a few $100K, you storming into your boss's office hey, what the fuck?
I want to be traded.
Yeah.
I want to find a new team. Yeah, I don't know. But if you're not making as much as these other guys, I'm definitely complaining to
I would be very upset.
Yeah.
Feels unfair. You're doing the same job.
Exactly. It might be more about the pageantry and stuff. I know Benny the Bull, he likes to do some crazy shenanigans from time to time. So I think it's about how much you're willing to do.
Yeah.
Also. So if you're not doing much out there other than just kind of showing up and just gragging it, then
how low are you willing to stoop?
Yeah.
Dehumanize yourself for the entertainment of others?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just can't I just can't believe $625,000 you put on a fucking Rocky.
He's not even working the full year either.
A mountain lion costume.
Yeah, what the 82 games, and obviously the Nuggets are in the finals right now. So he might get a bonus too. On top of that,
it is kind of a funny little wrinkle there in the old mascot gig. You're probably rooting for your team to suck ass, because if they don't even make the playoffs, you're free and clear.
Right. But then you might not get paid as much, because if your team's
That's
if you're
true.
the Pistons, you're probably not getting paid as much as.
I bet you're right. Also, I think a lot of the money they make, similar to the cheerleaders and the dancers and shit, is from gigs that you get outside of the actual physical basketball game. So
that's right, because they do show up to a bunch of events and stuff outside of it.
Yeah, the IBM office in Denver hires Rocky to come through and pie their boss in the face or whatever. That's or the dancers, the cheerleaders will go and host a fucking lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is still weird. But yeah.
A lot more money than us right now.
Anyway, good for the NBA mascots.
Good for them.
Recession-proof gig, it turns out.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, we've got one more insane headline, but first we have to take care of some business so we can at least try to touch where Rocky is at some point in the future. Today's episode is brought to you by Indochino. Looking sharp all wedding season long shouldn't be expensive. With a custom-fitted suit from Indochino, you'll create priceless memories without spending a fortune. Customize every detail on your suit, shirt, dinner jacket, and more in a range of colors, from a traditional black or gray to burgundy or olive to a classic Hemsworth navy. I can tell you personally, the Indochino experience is incredible, whether you go to one of their showrooms in person to get measured up or you do it from home. I have done both. I went to the Indochino in Austin the first time through, but for my more recent order, I measured myself at home with the help of my wife, checked out all their stuff strictly online, and the end result is still the best custom clothing experience I've ever had. I got the Stockport wool linen olive suit with a Halesworth basket weave shirt, a look that you can find on my Instagram at WRBolin that many people have complimented me on, especially RBP listeners over the last several months. It's great. It's phenomenal. Can't wait to wear it to the next wedding I go to. I believe will be Jared's, actually, J-Bone's wedding. Every Indochino suit is made to your exact measurements, and you can customize every detail online. Create a suit that fits you and your style perfectly with options for fabrics, lapel shape, custom monograms, statement linings, and more. Like on my shirt that I mentioned, it says WRB down on the cuff, as it were. It's very fancy, schmancy. I love it. They're always adding new pieces and options, by the way, so you can stay on trend and in style. RSVP, knowing you've got the perfect look all wedding season long. From Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use code RBP to get 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more. That's INDOCHINO. Indochino.com. Promo code RBP. All right, here's our final headline of the day. Lawsuit alleges Houston woman died inside walk-in freezer because of faulty handle.
That's a tough way to go.
That's a bad way to go. From KView, the family of a Houston woman who was found dead in a Louisiana restaurant's walk-in freezer is now suing. KHOU 11 obtained the lawsuit, which alleges a Louisiana Arby's knew the inside handle on their walk-in freezer had been broken for months when the woman got stuck inside and died on May 11th. Imagine dying in an Arby's walk-in freezer, if you would, for me, if you desire to become depressed. Thank God they're suing. They should absolutely be suing. It says, according to the lawsuit, she worked as a general manager for a Houston Arby's and was temporarily on assignment at the Arby's in New Iberia, Louisiana. So she didn't even fucking work at that Arby's. They were like, hey, we're short-staffed in Louisiana.
You have to go to a whole nother state to work at an Arby's.
You're going to drive 9 hours out to New Iberia, Louisiana. You're going to drive out there, all right? Then, when you get there, it turns out the handle on their freezer's broken, so you're going to climb in, shut the door, and die. Let's find out how she died. It says she had been dropped off early to open the restaurant when she became stuck inside the freezer. So she was there, presumably alone. She goes into the restaurant probably to pull out all the frozen shit they're going to thaw out and serve to you at Arby's.
All the frozen meats.
It's just the meats.
Just the meats.
She gets in there, door shuts behind her, she grabs a bunch of the meats, and she turns and realizes, oh no, I'm stuck in here.
With all these meats.
And then you just sit there with the meats and wait for death to take you. What a fucking horrifying dude. Just like, this is a horror movie right here. You could make this into a horror movie.
This is like a nightmare scenario for me. Like getting locked in like a freezer or like a vault.
Oh, dude.
And just like not being able to.
It?
Yeah.
You're just there till you go?
Yeah. But like how long was she in there? Because I feel like you could last a little bit.
Let's see if it says. It says the lawsuit said that other employees, including her son, later came to the restaurant to work. It said that her son was the one who found her inside the freezer. It also alleges that the walk-in freezer latch had been broken at least since August of 2022. That's when you went and stripped for the first time. That's a long-ass time ago. And that employees used a screwdriver to help open and close it and a box of oil to keep it open. So they had just rigged it up to be able to keep functioning, but she was not a regular there.
She had no clue.
She had no idea.
They didn't let her know.
Oh, man. According to the lawsuit, company policy was to keep the freezer at -10 degrees, and her cause of death
too long.
was hypothermia.
Because she's probably just wearing, like, the typical Arby's, like, collared shirt or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, this story alone creates a hard line rule for me. No walk-in freezers. I'm not going into one. I'm sorry. I remember in middle school, they took us to a restaurant in Houston. It was like a famous steakhouse for whatever. I don't know why. They were like, it's a field trip. We're going to a steakhouse. And one of the things we did, we like toured the place and they took us into the walk-in freezer. Like the whole class, like everybody file inside. And in hindsight, I wonder if that person was thinking like I could shut this and all these kids would be dead. Maybe that was what they were considering. Because why else? I mean, they were like, oh, it's freezing fucking cold in here. That was it. We were like, okay, cool. Can we get out now?
Yeah.
It is very hot in Houston. Maybe they were trying to relieve us.
Probably cool you off a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But that's a bummer, man.
And the son found her too. That's tough.
Dude. And like, was her son already working there? And that's why they were like, maybe they were like, hey, Jeff, your mom's an Arby's girl. We need a replacement. Let's call her up and get her over here. Or did he like go with her? Were they like the A team that gets called in? You know, everybody knows their family just crushes it as Arby's employees. You got to get them both in. Fuck.
That's so tough. Oh my god.
And how do you determine like what amount of money the family deserves for this? Is it like the level how?
I mean, you have to give them like one Arby's restaurant. I feel like for them to own.
Just give them. Maybe not that one. Maybe give them a different one.
Yeah. Maybe the one in Houston.
Because that one's cursed now.
Yeah, no, that one needs to be torn down.
Did people go and touch her body afterwards? Because it wasn't decomposing because it was frozen solid?
Yeah, probably.
You know, the Catholics, did they file in for the meats?
For the meats.
Also, just as an aside, I said earlier, if I die, I don't want anyone touching my body. But if I die in a walk-in freezer, I'm totally cool with people filing into the restaurant and paying homage to me.
And touching you?
Yeah. If I die with the meats, that's an exception to what I was saying earlier. All right? Y'all can have at it. Because at that point, my body has been so disrespected by the elements that I just don't care anymore. If I die with that much meat around me, have at it. Have at it. That's it for the headlines. As surely everyone is aware at this point, since May 2nd, the Writers Guild of America, or WGA, has been on strike, demanding higher pay and a stable pay structure, as well as fairer deals and contracts and provisions about artificial intelligence. And first off, I support the writers. That goes without saying. As I am a writer myself, not for TV, obviously, but like that's been the thing that has fueled my career the entire time I've been doing content creation for 12 years now. The writer's strike is a complicated thing for a variety of reasons, but the crazy part and the thing to understand if you're just a casual who doesn't particularly care about television or movie creation and how the stuff behind the scenes works, the writers have not renegotiated their contracts since before streaming became a huge thing. So these studios that create TV shows and movies are making a ton of residuals off of being able to, like, you know, The Office goes off the air and then Netflix pays like $100 million to obtain the rights to stream The Office for a year or whatever. Writers were not getting any of that. The studios were keeping it all. Like, they may have put in like some provision that was paying the writers like, you know, 0.005 cents per episode streamed or some crazy shit. The point is they were getting kind of ripped off. They don't have as strong of a union as, say, like the Major League Baseball Players Union or whatever. Like the professional sports, they tend to do these renegotiations and set their contracts to expire in shorter stints for this very reason. Like with technology especially, things change so quickly, you kind of need to have it be easier to come to the table and negotiate new terms. This has always been an issue in Hollywood, where the big studio execs kind of keep the writers under their thumb. They never really give them the money or the respect that they deserve, as without the writers, there are no shows, there are no movies. But when you're a non-creative person and you're just worth tens of millions of dollars and making God knows how much a year, it's easy to be like, no, fuck them writers. I understand sort of both sides of this thing. Not saying they're both right or good. Again, writers good, multi-million-dollar executives who refuse to pay writers bad. But you can see where they get confused, right? Like they're all high-powered and high and mighty with their money, and they think that they don't need anybody else. The rise of artificial intelligence has made this even more complicated because you can see these morons in their corner offices thinking,
we can just get
Yeah,
AI
we don't even
to write a
we don't even
script.
need to pay these writers $30K a year anymore while I make $6-7 million or whatever it is. Like, we'll just get the computer to do it. It's like, no. Look, that is one thing that as a person who relies on creativity for a living that I have come to understand over the past few months as this AI shit has really spiraled out of control. It's going to be a long, long time, if ever, that an artificially intelligent program can write a television show that is a hit. Because a computer can't identify with humanity. You can't insert humanity,
you can't
the human experience into a story.
Or like your own personal experience, because it doesn't have any. It just goes off an algorithm and just information that it already knows.
Yeah, it's just not a thing I see being problematic for the writers long term in terms of creating great stuff. It is a problem in terms of studio executives and studio heads thinking that they can plug the gaps with AI. That's not a fucking thing yet. And it's crazy to think about. But also, we have much bigger fish to fry in terms of AI. Like, the least of my concerns is like, oh my God, it's going to replace the writers. Like, the two headlines most recently were that artificial intelligence could lead to human extinction, which feels like a slightly more pressing topic, right? So anyway, point is, they are trying to get provisions in about artificial intelligence to protect themselves, knowing how greedy and stupid the very rich and wealthy executives above them are, which is a good idea. Second, I was listening to the Frank Ocean track Solo Reprise, the Andre 3000 one, where 3 Stacks raps, after 20 years in, I'm so naive, I was under the impression that everyone wrote their own verses. It's coming back different, and yeah, that shit hurts me. I'm humming and whistling to those not deserving. I've stumbled and lived every word. Was I working just way too hard? And when that came out, it was a pretty direct shot at Drake. Right? This was like during the time period where it turned out Drake was utilizing ghostwriters to craft a lot of his songs, and a lot of these people... one in particular, I believe, was like uncredited. Like, it wasn't showing up. When you do an album and you're an artist and you put an album out, your writers are credited. And usually it'll be like the rapper and like 2 or 3 other people. And that's usually the result of the rapper having sat down with 2 or 3 other people and been like, here's the song. And then one person being like, ooh, you could change this line to say this. Like, bam. If they do that, that's a writer's credit. You know what I'm saying? So they get advice to make it even better, to craft like, oh, I couldn't quite get this line right. Can you help me out? Like that sort of thing, which was perfectly normal and acceptable, that version of it. The ghostwriter version is where somebody else writes a song, you pay them for the song, and part of the deal when you pay them is that they're not going to get any credit because you want it to look like it was you, and then that shit goes on your album and they do not have a writer's credit in the credits or whatever. So it just like that is a confusing thing. But anyway, that verse I just referenced was a shot at Drake, and it's a weird thing because like this is a terribly common thing in the music industry, right? It led me to thinking about when I was a kid. And I first found out, I think it was a Britney Spears song that was like this huge hit. And then it came out that like she had not written a single fucking word of it. And it just, I was puzzled. Like, wait, what? Is that, I didn't even realize it was allowed. Like, that's a thing, right? And in some instances, you could think of it this way. So like if you were a really, really good songwriter, but you didn't have the vocal chops to make it big, and you were like, fuck it, I think I can make more money selling these songs to already well-established, incredible artists. I get a little bit of back end. They pay me some amount of money up front, and then I get some back end too, meaning like whatever comes in from that song, I get a percentage of it, and that'll be that. Like, famous person who does this that some of you are familiar with that I've talked about on the show before, The Dream, who is probably my favorite R&B artist of all time. The Dream... He's solid. He's solid.
He has a great voice, yeah.
I wouldn't say great, but he knows how to use it. He's a good singer. He's not a bad singer, but he knew. He's kind of a nut, I will say. Very, very strange dude. Not that that's a knock. I'm just saying, like, he's a real weirdo. And at some point, he was like, I can make more money selling these songs to Beyonce than I can putting them on my own album. And he was right. Like, I think he wrote Single Ladies. That song wouldn't make much sense on a Dream album.
No, not really.
Made a lot of sense on Beyonce's album and made them both millions and millions of dollars. But like, just that concept is so fucking weird because if you didn't write the song yourself, you're just performing it. That is at the very least like a lower form of art that is less deserving of acknowledgement, or at least credit, like awards. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if they take that into consideration during like the Grammys. Or do they even give a shit if you wrote the fucking thing, or if you're just the face guy or girl or whatever? It weirds me out. But my argument is that if you didn't write the song yourself, like, I mean, I apply this to talk shows too, and comics who are not doing their own bits, right? Like, a lot of the time on Jimmy Kimmel, on Jimmy Fallon, on David Letterman, on whatever, they have a writing team.
Yeah, they have a writer's room that make all the jokes. Or, well, at least most of them.
I mean, once you're at a certain level, like where Fallon is at, like, I don't think he's writing anything anymore. Like, he just gets up there and says a bunch of other shit that somebody else wrote. It would be like if it turned out like Kade wrote every episode of RBP. And not like I was just in here saying all this shit that Kade had written. That would be fucking weird. It would be weird. It's like your thoughts coming out of my mouth.
Right.
Which, there's a disconnect there in terms of what is art to me, right? So, I'm not saying our show is generally art, although sometimes it is. But the point is, there's like this gap for, like, it just doesn't feel right. It makes me feel icky. It's strange. And because nobody pays attention, nobody watches the credits on The Tonight Show and goes, well, who wrote this one? You know, or like, who wrote those jokes? And like the lack of credit is weird.
Yeah, no, I honestly like haven't really thought about like the ghostwriters and stuff. But now that I'm thinking about it, like probably a lot of the top pop songs and like probably a lot of rap songs too are not written by the people performing them. I never like really thought about that.
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean, it's the top dogs, right? Because once you get to the top, that's when everybody's hollering at you. I've got this song. I've got this verse. I've got these bars. Like, buy this, buy that. Like, you know what I mean? You're probably getting hit up pretty regularly. Now, back to the reference point of Drake, I don't know that anybody has ever been better at this than he is. Where, phenomenal career. I think he wrote most of his stuff at the beginning. And then at some point you realize, like, okay, well, I only have so much, and there's all this hot shit out there in the world. Why wouldn't I go get some of that hot shit and use it to my advantage in my career? And he's done this with other people's songs that they wrote, right? And also with, like, other people's vibes entirely. Like, he'll go hear a hot song and then turn that shit into a whole wave for himself, right? Like, he's really, really good at spotting talent. What was that one dude, like, I love
Mackinnon or
Mackinnon? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
The going up on a Tuesday thing or whatever? Yeah, that was an example. Like, that song was a hit regardless. And Drake was like, get me on this shit.
Yeah, he'll hop on like a remix or something. Like, I know he did that with Fetty Wap too, way back. And then there's another one, Block Boy JB, who just like he had one hit, and then Drake was like, "All right, let me get on a song with you," and then like it was another hit, and then like haven't heard from him since. So he knows stuff like that.
He did it with Lil Baby. He does it with a lot of it's like once he co-signs somebody or hops on their song or whatever, like he gets permission to use their fucking vibe. It's a thing he's really good at. I'm not knocking it from a success perspective, but from like an artistic credit perspective, like it should certainly disqualify. You should not be allowed to get like a fucking Grammy off of that, or like it just is weird. Like the other person should get the Grammy. I don't know. There's a disconnect here for me still, clearly, when it comes to how this whole like ghostwriting thing, or singers doing other people's songs that they didn't write, or whatever. And there's an argument to be made like, oh well, they never would have gotten that song heard by anybody if they had done it themselves. Like, but because Drake did it or because Bieber did it. Like Bieber does this a lot. Bieber's one of those guys who's so famous at like 14 years old that he was just getting hit records handed to him. Like, here's your next fucking bop.
Here you go. Yeah, no, you sound really good on this. Like, yeah, it'll be a hit.
On the other side of the ball, Taylor Swift writes the majority of her own shit.
Doesn't she just like re-release her album? So like, what is she doing? Like, I see like a new album by her like every couple of months, I feel like.
Okay, so my understanding is that there was this dude named Scooter Braun, who I believe is also Bieber's management, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can clarify for me on Twitter or whatever. But like, he had the rights to her catalog in some way, shape, or form. And she found the loophole of like re-recording each song and putting it out as a re-release herself. She keeps all the rights. So like there's a Midnights that's the Taylor Swift version,
Yeah,
Taylor's version.
Keep calling them Taylor's version.
Yeah, and then there's the Scooter Braun version.
Is she like changing the lyrics, or is she just like?
Nah, just straight up re-recording that shit, man. Which is, from a business perspective, it's genius.
Well, yeah, because you're getting all the money from it. Like,
Yeah.
I get that, but like, oh man, her fans just eat that shit up. Like, she's dropping something new.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
And I know she'll drop like a new song. Like I saw she did one with Ice Spice.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen to that. But
no, I'm
like
not
that's
either.
she'll drop like 1 or 2 new songs, but the rest is just like her old stuff. Again.
I'm not a Swiftie. All right, There's a few Taylor Swift songs that I admit that I will like. If it comes on, I'm jamming for sure, 100%. I've got a few in my Spotify shuffle or whatever, you know. But you have to credit her as like one of the most successful entertainers of all time, same as Drake, right? And to my point about the writing, probably at another level even, because she writes her own shit. But like right now, dude, Beyonce is on tour. Nobody even cares or knows, because Taylor Swift dominates the headlines week in and week out.
Yeah, I've been hearing about her tour for months now.
Yes,
I feel like.
nonstop. Beyonce is on tour, and nobody fucking cares because shit's like the second, like, it's a footnote in the Taylor Swift storyline, which is just wild to me, because Beyonce is obviously one of the biggest entertainers in the world, but like that's how much attention Taylor Swift is sucking up at this point. And every week I see another story, like when she brought out Ice Spice in like Tennessee recently or whatever the fuck, wherever Ice Spice is from, I guess is probably where it was. Maybe it wasn't Tennessee, but that was like a whole nother thing. It got covered by like all the hype beast publications and was like, yeah, Taylor Swift brought out Ice Spice. It's like, oh my God, doing the Drake thing again. Like, who's the hot new act? I'm going to go grab that person, put them on a track, and then I'm sucking up their fan base too. Like it's a great strategy. It's podcasters do this. They go on other big podcasts and they cross promote with each other. I'll go on your show, you go on my show. We'll each be exposed to each other's audiences. May the best man win. And it's just weird, like, because when you're just purely a consumer, you don't necessarily consider this shit. Like why Taylor Swift would get Ice Spice on a track.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because they don't have the same demographic a lot of the time.
No, especially those two.
So they get exposure to each other's demographics. And like in certain cases, it can be mutually beneficial. Like I would argue that this probably is. And with that one as an example. But like sometimes it's just straight jocking. Like I love Mackinnon is gone. Not dead, but like nobody fucking thinks about this dude. Nobody cares.
To this shit, yeah.
That might as well be a Drake song. You know what I mean? It's like that is a more of a like a parasitic relationship there.
Yeah, no, Drake does seem kind of parasitic in those relationships.
He does that shit. He really, really does. And it's weird. Because I just don't know how to feel about it. Like, is it genius or is he kind of an asshole? I don't know. I really don't know, because maybe...
I mean, but I feel like he's giving them, like, no, he's exposing them to his fan base.
Yeah.
And, like, you got to take that and run with it. Like, Lil Baby did. But I Love Mackinnon, Black Boy JB, the Smiley or whatever, you remember that song?
Yeah.
That, like, he was so bad, but, like, it kind of blew up because Drake was on it. Like, if Drake's going to give you a verse, you need to take that shit and run with it.
Make sure you capitalize on that.
Yeah, or else, you're just going to lose all of that. And then, like, all you remember is, like, Drake being on your song. Yeah,
I guess it's like it's a two-way street. Like you could, in some cases, it's like that person never would have made the money they made off that song if Drake hadn't hopped on it or whatever. But then in other cases, it's like it just makes it look like the whole thing is a Drake production. You don't really feel like you get credit the way you should have. Maybe it would have been as big of a hit anyway. I don't know. It's bizarre. But writing is important, was the segment, I guess. It's an important piece.
Pay your writers.
Yeah, pay your writers.
Give them some love.
We're lucky that we're in this spot with TV where we have, like, there are so many good shows I need to get caught up on, dude, that frankly we could use a little bit of a break from new shit coming out, so I can like fucking catch up on Barry and catch up on Ted Lasso. I'm like 3 seasons behind. There's a ton of shit. I never even got to. I'm on season 2 is the last one of Better Call Saul that I watched. Like, I have a lot of shows I need to catch up on, so I'm kind of hoping that, not necessarily hoping that the writer's strike continues indefinitely, but historically, it takes a while before they come to a compromise again. And it's just kind of a weird spot, because, like, I don't understand the game. Like, do the studios just hold out until the writers are starving, literally, and they need money? Like, and then like, all right, now we got you where we want you.
It's just gonna be a waiting game.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, all the like I've seen a bunch of like productions get like put on hold and like shows out like were being written like they just stopped right now. So we don't like I know like Stranger Things, was it, The Last of Us I saw they were gonna film at the end of 2023, so I don't know how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a bunch of like big shows that are like
on pause, basically.
So we're not getting those shows for a couple more years, maybe.
You know, one show that's not pausing, House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah,
they were like, "No, we already got the scripts. We're good." And just as another piece of this, apparently a lot of the time they'll have at least one writer on set, so that if like an actor delivers a line and they're like, "Well, that sounded fucking stupid," they'll be like, "Jimmy, the writer, go cook us up something else that he can say." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And House of the Dragon's just like, "Nah, we're good." So hopefully they actually are. It concerns me. But
I feel like they got most of it down pat though already.
I hope
feel
so.
like
it's gonna be a crazy next season though. That's the thing. I hope it's not like, gonna suffer as a result of this whole writer's strike thing. We'll see though. It's complicated and crazy, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, and I'm sure there's at least one person listening who's more in tune with all this than I am that thinks I sound like an idiot. But the gist of it, for the layman's like me, is that writer's good, greed bad. And also, if you ever want to know just how talented your favorite musician is, check those writers' credits on songs. Like on Donda, there's like 36 writers for each song, bro.
Yeah, I'm just gonna not do that. I don't want to see how the
ignorance is bliss.
The sausage is made. Yeah, I'd rather not.
Sometimes you don't want to know how the sausage is made. A lot. I would say a lot of the time. Right? Like the first time somebody told you what was in a hot dog, were you happy to know?
I still don't know what's in a hot dog, so don't tell me.
I'm so jealous of you right now. I envy that level of ignorance. Good for you.
Thank you.
We should get hot dogs soon. What if there's a good... Actually, my mother-in-law told me there's some hot dog spot that just opened up down south around us that's supposed to be amazing.
Oh, interesting. I had a hot dog on Sunday at a bar, a little food truck. Had hot dogs. It was pretty good. Solid.
Fuck, I haven't had a hot dog in so long.
Yeah, no, that was the first time in a while. And it had the fixins on it.
Oh, yeah. It's like the place my mother-in-law told me about. It's like a Chicago style, where there's like all kinds of shit piled on top of it, which usually I'm a simple man. Like when I get a hot dog, I'm just ketchup and mustard. If they've got relish, I'll slap some of that on there, But every once in a while, I'll spring for a...
You'll go all out.
Chicago style that's just fucking buried in shit. Just every goddamn vegetable you can imagine on there. I love that. I miss James Coney Island. Do you even know what James Coney Island is?
I've like heard it like a few times, but I don't.
Up in Indiana, do y'all have like a hot dog chain that's famous? Like Wiener Schnitzels?
Probably.
We had that. I don't know if it still exists.
Oh, fuck, was it? Well, it's not it wasn't based in Indiana, but it's a place called Portillo's, I think it is. Like I know they have one in Chicago.
Okay.
But we just got one of the it's Portillo's, and it's like a hot dog place. It's pretty good though, but that's like the only thing that we have that's just like hot dogs.
The two I can remember were James Coney Island and Wiener Schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel is fucking garbage. Absolute shit. James Coney Island was really good. And ironically, the location that I used to go to growing up, that I took my stepdaughter to when I was in Houston last year, with my dad and my brother. You know how, well, but other people don't. Bun B, the rapper of UGK fame, has started a burger joint called Trill Burgers. And Trill is a combination of like true and real, basically. Like keeping it trill, that's what it means. And Trill Burgers, they've been crushing it. They've done like a fucking great job with their marketing. Basically, Bun is so connected. Bun B also being an ironic part of it, right? He's so connected within the hip hop community that like he gets every single famous hip-hop artist you've ever fucking heard of to try these burgers at one point or another. Like, he had Tyler, the Creator, when they were both at Coachella. He, like, gave Tyler the burger, and he films Tyler eating the fucking burger, and then he makes them give a review. And who the fuck is going to say something bad to Bun B's face about the burger, first of all, right?
Right.
I'm not saying that's the whole campaign. I'm not saying they aren't legit. I'm just saying it's genius for that reason, too.
I'm looking at them right now. They look
very
good.
Very good. But he's done this with so many different artists, and they use these as like the marketing materials for social media. It's a genius campaign. But the point is, Bun B, that James Coney Island location shut down, and Bun is turning it into the first brick and mortar Trill Burgers. So I'm stoked to go try this in Houston at some point. I still need to hit him up to come on the show too, Bun B, because we were supposed to interview him during the fucking dumb shit fucking COVID nonsense, and it like fell apart in 2020. Like, had him on the schedule. He was gonna come into the fucking studio and everything, and then it fell apart. So I need to get with his people again, because that would be really fun. But anyway, go get a Trill Burger if you ever have the chance. The only time that would be possible currently would be in Houston. But
if you're ever in Houston.
Yeah, Trill Burgers. Holler at it. Anyway, that was a segment about writing and art. Today's episode is also brought to you by Manscaped. This is a public service announcement. Manscaped now has beard products, which is they're going even further as well with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Go ahead, tell the world the leaders in below-the-waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The new Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. It's time for you to upgrade your game by going to manscaped.com and using our code RBP for 20% off plus free shipping. I've been using the new beard trimming products. I got this whole box with all their stuff in it. It's awesome. One of the reasons I love it, my old shitty beard trimmer had like 8 different guard links that came with it. You know, you have to take off the guard, put on the one you want or whatever. This is just one guard for all of the links, and it adjusts. It's awesome. Makes it a lot easier. And their new Beard Hedger Pro Kit is amazing. If you're in the audience and you're bearded, you may enjoy it. It's the ultimate package that makes it easier than ever to craft your signature look with that facial hair. It starts with the cordless electric beard hedger. It's tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. It's waterproof, cordless, has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair-cutting links, all with one guard, so no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons, and it's phenomenal. And the Weed Whacker 2.0 is the one that you use for your nose and your ears, which I love. The 1.0 was great. The 2.0 is even better. You stick it up in your nose, and you let it do its thing. And then you don't have a bunch of gross fucking swamp hairs coming out of your nose and ears, Kade, which you don't want and becomes more of a problem as you get older. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes than it is now with the Weed Whacker 2.0. And now that you have your face looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience to get your downstairs mix-up looking right and tight as well. The Performance Package 4.0 now comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and all of the other below-the-waist grooming products Manscaped is known for. Your significant other will be delighted to see you covering all your bases, if you know what I mean. So get 20% off and free shipping with our code RBP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code RBP. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So this past Sunday, HBO ended one of the most impressive runs in television history, which started August 21st, 2022 with House of the Dragon, went straight into The White Lotus Season 2, straight into The Last of Us Season 1, straight into Succession Season 4, where every single Sunday, with maybe the exception of like one Sunday in between those shows, just absolute domination of Sunday night entertainment. And I tweeted about this, and a lot of people retweeted it, and it kind of went viral on Twitter. And some of the responses I got were fucking hilarious. Somebody said, say you haven't watched Barry without saying you haven't watched Barry. First of all, I haven't watched Barry. I've only seen season 1. As I said earlier, it's an example of one of the shows I desperately need to catch up on. But second, Barry is not in this category. It's not an hour-long prestige drama. It's 30 minutes. It's a different ballgame. I'm not saying that makes Barry less than, but it doesn't fit into that category. It's not the same, okay? Somebody said they were putting out Entourage and The Sopranos on at the same time, same night. LMAO. Entourage, really? Do I have to explain that Entourage doesn't fit in this fucking category? Not only was it 15 minutes, 20 minutes an episode. Sometimes you'd start an episode of Entourage and it would be over before you blinked. But there is no fucking way that show aged well. Did you watch Entourage?
No, I've never seen it.
I've asked you this before, I think. So basically, unless you were in high school or college when Entourage is on, you never fucking watched it. That means it's not that good, okay? Entourage does not belong in this conversation. Entourage people, you are ridiculous. You need to stop it. Vinny Chase was a fucking loser. Somebody else said HBO had The Sopranos, The Wire, Deadwood, and 6 Feet Under, and Entourage running simultaneously. I still can't believe they're putting Entourage in this conversation, but I'm not talking about simultaneous running. I'm talking about one thing ending and another thing picking it up so that there's no break in the action for almost a full year from August 21st, 2022 to the very end of, May of 2023. That is a crazy, because you want people locked in, right? It's about having at least one thing that you have to watch, like that people don't want to miss. Right? So they don't cancel their subscription and go elsewhere. That's the business plan. If you've got at least one must-watch show going at a time, that is a crazy run. And I don't think anybody's ever any network has ever done that job at the level that HBO just accomplished it, in terms of one show into another. And all very different subject matter. Each one. Crazy different subject matter. From, House of the Dragon being a fantasy show about dragons and insanity and Westeros, and then The White Lotus Season 2 is like a vacation thriller. And then The Last of Us is a zombie apocalypse show, and then Succession is like big business family in New York City.
Yeah, no, very, very good stuff that they got going on. And I think they're just going to keep it running with The Idol. That starts this Sunday, Yeah. I think it's going to be a big hit. Yeah, so turns out we were going to cover The Idol next. We were like, fuck it, let's just keep the HBO ball rolling, baby. And I'm a big fan of The Weeknd and his music. We talked about R&B singers earlier. He's definitely in my top 3. He probably took, Kel's spot because R. Kelly's out. He can't be up in there anymore. I love The Weeknd. I've never seen anything with Johnny Depp's daughter, Lily Rose Depp, in it. I was like, that sounds interesting. Johnny Depp's daughter. Wow, it's crazy. It's like when you're watching sports and you get so old that somebody who you used to watch play's son is now in the league. It's a depressing moment, but somehow intriguing. That's kind of how I feel about his daughter, Johnny Depp's daughter. Anyway, it turns out there is a lot of controversy surrounding this show, and that's not necessarily what drove me away from it. What drove me away from it was the fucking reviews are brutal. They're just getting skewered. It came out with an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes to start off, and I think it's up to 12 or 15% or something now. But definitely not good enough for us to commit to covering the entire season episodically with our podcast that is listened to by tens of thousands of people. So we walked away from The Idol. And we're going to be doing Silo on Apple TV Plus next, which I realize is 4 or 5 episodes into the season. We're kind of breaking form here. We're going to do it a little bit differently on OCC for this next show because, frankly, that run that I just mentioned, August 21st through this past Sunday, has been fucking nonstop for me. Where we had a show every week that I had to do at least 2 episodes for OCC, and it was high pressure. All of those shows are shows that I had to take 3,000 words worth of notes for each podcast to make sure we didn't forget anything or miss anything and bring all the points to the table that we wanted to bring. So I'm stoked on doing something a little bit differently here with Silo on Apple TV Plus and not necessarily caring about the scheduling of when they're dropping the episodes so much as when our audience is enjoying it with us. But all that is to say, Succession was the one that ended this past Sunday that kind of finished out this run. And because The Idol was getting skewered, I'm pretty sure the run is officially over for HBO here. Not over forever, but this particular run I'm talking about that started in August of 2022. Succession did the thing that is so hard for shows to do. Stop while you're at the top, right? Same thing with professional athletes. They always struggle to walk away at the top. Right, Brady didn't retire a Patriot. Jordan didn't retire a Chicago Bull. Hakeem Olajuwon, as my example,
from Houston did not retire a Houston Rocket. And there's you don't want to be Jordan on the Wizards, man. You don't want to be Brady in a Bucks jersey or Manning that last season where he was throwing dead ducks all over the field. It's just fucking depressing. Like, you want to go out on top. It's a very, very challenging thing to do when there are tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. And Succession could have kept this going for at least a couple more years, no doubt. But it would have gotten even more repetitive than it already kind of was. That was always my knock on Succession after season 2, after season 3. I was like, we're just doing the same thing every year. None of these fucking idiot kids are ever going to pull it together. What is happening? They walked away on top. They closed it out phenomenally. And the analogy I always use is like, the bigger the show, the more successful and the crazier the story, the more difficult it is to land the plane. It's like landing a jumbo jet, right? And they did it. They did it. They really, really did it. If you didn't watch Succession and you liked Game of Thrones as an example, or Billions as an example, or there's several other ones that kind of fall into this familial drama genre, but like Succession was great. It's one of the best shows I've ever watched from front to back. And I think it will go down in the top 5 best TV shows ever made. I really believe that, and it's not recency bias. This is part of my job, is to make sure I can remove that piece when I evaluate how good a show was. And this one, I think, will remain at the top forever because they did such a good job of closing it out and didn't do a whole lot of fan service. It wasn't pandering, right?
Right, yeah.
Like Thrones, that last season, man. But really, the last episode, they dropped the ball. They just fucked up. They fucked around and found out. And Succession did not do that. They did not end it in a way that was, at least in my opinion, that was like fan servicey or cheesy. It was real. I thought it was very, very real. What, Kade, you watched all of Succession with us.
I did, yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, no, like you said, they definitely landed the plane. And, you just kind of feel bad for them, but you also don't, like how things ended, because like some of them win but not really, and some of them lose but not really. It's and that's kind of what you want from a show, because it makes it more real. Like if they would have picked
no spoilers.
Oh yeah, so all right, yeah, no, never mind, I'm not gonna say that. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the season. Like they ended how like I thought they should, and didn't do the fan service thing.
Yeah, it could have been very easily. They could have ended it in a way that would have ruined everything. I mean, really fucked it up. Taken the whole like context, the depth, and the purpose out of the entire story that they told for 4 seasons, and they did not do that. They ended it appropriately and in a timely fashion without trying to go too long, just because they thought they could. So it was great. I was very happy with it. Congratulations to everybody in the making of Succession. Jesse Armstrong, Mark Mylod, who directed most of this final season, if not all of it, and all the actors and actresses.
He crushed it behind the camera.
That dude rules.
When he's inside the episodes, when he's talking about like their camera shots and stuff, like they did like a lot of one takes. Like I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, he was a Game of Thrones guy, Mark Mylod. He did several episodes of Game of Thrones, I believe. He directed episodes 3 and 4 of season 5. He was in the show for season 6, where he directed some episodes as well. He's awesome. One of the best dudes working in television currently. But
I am sad that it ended, because, like you said, it definitely could have gone on a little bit longer. And this is like the 4th show in a month for me that is like they're done with the series. So it was like
you're
Succession,
at Barry.
I did Barry. I watched Ted Lasso last night. Another show that I watched was Snowfall. They just ended their 5th season. They landed the plane too. And I don't know, have you ever heard of that show?
Yeah, I've heard of Snowfall.
Like they did a great job with that finale too. It wasn't what I was expecting, but they just, all those shows, they all landed the plane. And
now we have a new season of I Think You Should Leave.
Oh, we do? Yeah, no, I watched that.
Did you watch the whole season?
Yeah. No, I watched it in like one night already.
Yeah, it's like, what, 20-minute episodes, right?
Yeah.
Don't say anything yet, because I want to watch it.
Yeah.
I want to watch it first and see how it goes. The fact that you've watched it multiple times, I feel like it's a good sign, though. It's a good sign. But
I got to like pick up on all the quotes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes it good. Because one of my friends, like, he watches like, I don't know how I feel about that. So I'm like, you have to watch it multiple times because you pick up on different things each time you watch it.
Yeah, that's not a one-watch show, man. I watched it once and was like, okay, I get it, but it didn't hit for me the way it was supposed to. Like on the second watch, I was fucking crying, and then it kind of becomes this thing you go back to. If I'm ever having a hard day where I like don't feel good, I'm like a little depressed or just not motivated or whatever, I'll go watch a couple episodes of I Think You Should Leave, and it brings my spirits up.
Yeah.
Because it's so absurd and funny, and you pick up on little bits and pieces every time that are new, which is the best thing about comedy to me, is that you, like Arrested Development, probably my favorite comedy of all time. Every time you watch Arrested Development seasons 1 through 3, you laugh at new things. There are things you didn't notice before because you were still laughing at the last thing when that thing got said, so you don't even pick up on it, and that's kind of how I Think You Should Leave operates as well. So I'm excited to watch that. I'll probably dive into it tonight, and get a few in at least. But yeah, very excited. And for those of you who joined us watching Succession on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, we appreciate you. As I said, we will be doing Silo on Apple TV Plus next. Each week we drop a podcast breaking down an episode, or in this case, we're going to do 2 episodes with our first show. We're taking next week off with OCC. And the week after that, we'll be dropping an episode discussing Silo episodes 1 and 2. There are already 5 available, I believe, if not 6 now. And come through, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, watch with us, and enjoy the podcast. That will do it for today's show, but please support our sponsors by hitting the links in the description of this episode and using our dedicated codes and URLs. That is how we pay the bills here at Bolin Media. You can find links to all our sponsors for today's episode in the description below. To check out our other shows, go to bolinmedia.com. We've got J-Bone's F1 show, Formula Bone, still covering this F1 season. The most recent race was in Monaco, so he's got the Monaco recap. And is there a race this weekend? Do you know?
I think so.
If there is, J-Bone has a preview for the next Grand Prix that will be taking place. For all things J-Bone and F1, go to youtube.com/@FormulaBone, where he has over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and follow on social media @FormulaBone on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. For Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which will next be covering Silo on Apple TV Plus, you can find that show wherever you find RBP, youtube.com/@OystersClamsCockles. Go to bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some RBP merch. We've got Horny for Sunsets t-shirts. We've got Stack Good Days baby onesies and mouse pads and coffee mugs and finishing cups. All kinds of good stuff on bolinmedia.com/shop. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @WRBolin, @WRBOLEN. Kade, where can the people follow you?
You can follow me @Kade Orris on all the social medias, and that's KADEORRIS.
And this episode of RBP is presented by Bolin Media. Video of today's show was produced by Kade Orris. Go to youtube.com/@the_Ross_Bolin podcast for full video of our show, plus funny clips. We'll be back later this week on patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast, as we are every week with another ad-free exclusive episode. Until next time. Oh, and this week we'll be talking about Kade's experience.
Yeah, definitely want to tune in this week for sure.
Be there, Mr. and Mrs. Orris. Be there. Until next time, peace be with you, and also with you.